and it moves too slow from the back to the front. It is definitely not the way Sporting played when Ruben Amorim was there. Here's an example of Sporting playing the ball from one side of the field to the other. It moves quick, because I don't think some of you are not going to like this. I don't know what to make of Kobbie Mainoo. I understand that Kobbie Mainoo is very talented. I understand what he's good at. I just don't understand what to make of him in this system. That's a better way for me to say. The only other way to get profitable other than cutting expenses is at some point your team has to play better. And one of the most profitable ways for a football team to earn money is to be in the Champions League consistently. There's no nice way to say this, so I'm going to be very vulgar and very blunt, but these supporters would rather get f***ed by another white Brit in a suit than get hugged by a thobe-wearing Arab. It's been a handful of days since our last game against Leicester in the FA Cup. And actually, I was looking forward to that game because Ruben Amorim had a whole week of training with the squad. There weren't games every 3 days. He had a whole week to work with the squad and to start to get them to play more like what he wants them to play like. I thought today I'd be sitting down, editing game footage and showing you guys how we have improved in our patterns of movement and the way we move the ball around. And basically, we were starting to take shape and starting to look a little bit more like Sporting looked when Ruben Amorim was the manager over there. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. What's up, YouTube? Thank you very much for joining me once again. Thank you for clicking on the thumbnail. Thank you for being here with me. And thank you for the support for the last video. The last video got like 680 likes. We got over 9,000 views or somewhere around there. We got like 300 new subscribers. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. And if you are new to the channel and this is your first video, I suggest that you watch these 3 videos in this order. Basically, this one with Ruben Amorim on the thumbnail, then the one with Sir Jim Ratcliffe on the thumbnail, and then this one from last week. These 3 videos are basically tactics related videos so that you can keep up with our conversation, so you can understand what we're talking about when we talk about zone 16, zone 18, when we talk about diagonal runs and everything else. I will link those 3 videos in the description of this video so you guys can easily just click on those and watch them. And you don't have to watch the whole videos. Just click on this section. I will timestamp them. Click on the section that says Tactics Talk. Just listen to the Tactics Talk. I have dissected a lot of Ruben Amorim's basic strategies and tactics when he was with Sporting, and I have basically dissected what we're doing here at Manchester United, where we're doing good things and where we're doing bad things. That's all I'm going to say about that because most of the viewers already know what I'm talking about, and I want to get on with this video. So if you're new, go watch those and then come back to this one, or just watch this one completed and then go watch those afterwards so you can relate yourself with what we're talking about. Guys, I want to get to this game. I want to talk a little bit about this game, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time during the end talking about other things. So the first thing I want to say is that my biggest concern is us in possession. We still look sporadic, chaotic. We look a lot better in the press. We are really decent off the ball. We look better in the press. We're much better than we were when Ten Hag was around. We look like if another team breaks through our press, we still have enough people in the back so that we're not worried about a counterattack and things of that nature. Actually, I think that most of the shots we basically give up to the opponent are because of some stupid mistake we make when we're in possession and the way we turn over the ball. We are still really, really bad with the ball. Ruben's been saying that since he first joined the club, actually.
I think we lose the ball too often.
The problem is with the ball.
And we're still having problems with the ball. We give it away in stupid areas in cheap ways. So my biggest concern is still us in possession. The ball moves too slow from one side of the pitch to the other, and it moves too slow from the back to the front. It is definitely not the way Sporting played when Ruben Amorim was there. Here's an example of Sporting playing the ball from one side of the field to the other. It moves quick, and if it doesn't work out, it moves back around to the other side, as you're seeing here. And when it does work, as soon as opportunities open up and lanes open up, a midfielder makes a diagonal run, the ball is fed to him like on time. There is no delay. A ball's fed to him, and then the next runner takes off on another diagonal run, and the play just keeps moving forward. And if that doesn't work out, if the ball moves from one side of the field to the other and there's just no opening and the opponent is pressing and trapping you into the corner, then comes so think about it like this. If the opponent is pressing, that means they are committing numbers forward. And if they're committing numbers forward, and if your wide players act like they're going to run back to help, then zone 16 and 18 are open, and your striker or one of your inside 10s just has to attack that, just like Gyökeres is doing here. And boom, you're out of your side of the field. These are very, very simple concepts, and they're still not happening. We are moving the ball too slow. Everybody in the world knows what we're doing when we're about to do it. These players need to be like running like an engine, basically. They have to be, people shouldn't be able to tell what's coming next. Even though you and I know exactly what's coming next, it should happen in a way where after it happens, we realize it happened and go, oh yeah, that's a Ruben Amorim play. It shouldn't be like, oh look, they're trying to run a Ruben Amorim. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's too late. It shouldn't be like that. It should be like, as soon as, after it happens, me and you should realize that's what happened. Not me and you watch it. Like when I'm watching a game, I'm like, oh, I see what they're trying to do. It's never going to work because it's too freaking slow. That is heartbreaking, and it's really hurting me. And I know it's pissing Ruben Amorim off. These players move too slow. They pass the ball too slow. They think too slow. We just need a different type of player to come in and take control and work this, because these players are not built for this system. Now, some of you, and I've seen this on Twitter all day long, which is like, if that's the case, then Ruben Amorim should change. He should play a different system. That's not going to happen. And I don't even want to entertain that idea because it's just not him. That's not why we hired him. We hired him to play the system. We hired him to see which players he can get to adapt to his system and which ones don't. Will need to be moved on so we can get the players in. And I've also seen some people say that his system just is not going to work in the Premier League. That's actually false. See, in the Premier League, a lot of teams don't sit back. A lot of teams, most teams, they want to get forward. It's a very physical league. It's not a league that sits back and counters. Some teams do that, but most teams don't do that. Most teams try to read your play, know what you're doing, and then they go for it. And they press. Even if they don't press super duper high, they still press in a mid block. They don't sit in a low block for the most time, unless you're Man City and you keep the ball for a long time and then they hunker back and sit in a low block. Most Premier League teams want to start in a high or mid block, and then if you happen to keep possession and keep moving the ball forward, every team in the world is going to start to sit in a low block at that point. So most Premier League teams are going to sit in a high block or a mid block, and that means that if you run the play right, zones 16 and 18 are going to be there for the taking. And even in the FA Cup game against Leicester, we had opportunities to hit those zones, but we kept hitting the passes short. Here's a couple examples of the passes being short. And the one thing you don't do when you're trying to hit a pass to zone 16 or 18, you don't leave it short, because if you leave it short, two things happen. Number one, and by the way, here's a play where Mazraoui leaves it short, and this, because he left it short and it got intercepted, is the reason why Leicester got their first shot on our goal. It was right after this that the ball advanced forward over Harry Maguire, passed back, and then a shot was taken, and Onana had to make the save. Now, the reason why you don't leave it short is exactly that, and let me explain why that's important. See, if you're trying to hit a ball to zone 16, it's better that you hit it too long and it goes out of bounds than leaving it short and it gets intercepted. Because if it is hit too long and it gets intercepted up there, or it goes out of bounds up there and they have a throw-in, then you can set up your press, because that is exactly what I've said in other videos, that zone 16 and 18, it's good if you get possession of the ball and you can try to make something happen or set up a cross. And if you don't end up with the ball and the other team gets the ball, it's the perfect place to set up a press. But if you leave it short, now they have the ball somewhere in the middle of the field, not trapped in the corner right there. And one or two passes later, they're going to get to run at your defense. And that's exactly what happened. So the last thing you want to do is leave that pass short. And it happened a couple of times in that game. It was really frustrating to see, because to me, it's like common sense. I don't even coach football. And that's the first thing I'd be thinking as a coach, to tell my players, don't leave that pass short. I'd much rather you kick it out of bounds long. My other concern is about our playing personnel. I want to focus a little bit on our strikers. I just don't think they're good enough for Manchester United, at least not as starters. These guys are both young, raw, talented for sure, but both of them lack the experience, the know-how, how to handle the physicality of the Premier League, and they both make mistakes in very different ways, in very different circumstances, but they're both very raw and make a lot of mistakes in their positioning, their thinking, and in one's case, his physicality. Basically, what I'm saying is we really need to get rid of one or both of them this summer. And that's very, very harsh to say. But the truth is, one of these guys can stay with us, but needs a more experienced striker to play in front of him, that he can learn from, that he could watch in training, that he could talk to, that he can get pointers from, that he can understand exactly where he's going wrong, why his movement's wrong, why his movement doesn't match the play that's happening, and get better, right? Like, these young players are talented. I wouldn't be surprised if any player we sell ends up playing better somewhere else. Now, It's not the same as, say, Anthony going to La Liga and having some good moments. That's completely different. La Liga is such a slower league than the Premier League that Anthony's going to get a little bit more time on the ball, and that's going to make him shine, because Anthony with time on the ball, he might actually make something happen. And by the way, even though he got man of the match and all that, I watched the game because I wanted to see what exactly he's doing. It wasn't that great a performance, but the truth is, like, no one had a fantastic performance that was on the field that day. So I totally understand why he got man of the match, but it wasn't impressive. It's not something like, oh, wow, why can't he do that at Manchester United? Actually, whatever he did there, he could do at Manchester United. It wasn't that big a deal, if you will. But really, to get back to the subject at hand here, our strikers, we need a better one. We're Manchester United. When have we ever not had a great striker when we were winning leagues? When we were winning leagues, we always had a fantastic striker. We had like one of the top 2 strikers in our league whenever we won a league. We're not going to win a league with the 7th best striker, if that. I don't even know if we have the 7th or 8th best striker right now. So we need to get a forward in this summer, and it's a big concern of mine. I'm getting really, every time I watch, especially after a week of training with Ruben Amorim, I keep thinking, okay, this time, the striker is going to show me something different. They're going to run a better pattern. They're going to use their body better. They're going to They're going to use their movements better. They're going to move the ball better, maybe. And I'm still seeing this same, not the smartest runs, not the best positioning, not the best touches on the ball. Like, I just don't think it's going to change in mid-season, and I don't even think it's going to change after a preseason. This is going to be like a year or 2 project, but the thing is, he has to have another striker to watch and compete with to make him better. Someone he could talk to that's a striker, that's telling him like, hey, you can't do that here, or you can't do this here. Don't get me wrong. Of course, that's also the coach's job, but we have very, very young coaches, and I don't think none of them have ever played striker before, especially in the Premier League. So you got to bring in someone experienced for them to learn off of. That's just my opinion. Leave it in the comments if you don't agree with me. And actually, while I'm on the subject of talking about our personnel and asking you to leave stuff in the comments, hear me out, because some of you are going to get very, very triggered by what I'm about to talk about and what I'm about to say. But you guys know me. The ones who've been with me for a long time, you guys know me. I don't have an agenda against anybody. I'm not going to say it again, but some of you know what I do for a living. It's what I see. I have to be honest, and this is what I say. I don't say it because I don't like a certain person or I prefer a certain person over another person or anything like that. This is all about the sporting aspect of the thing, of the football aspect of the thing, and the tactical aspect of the thing. So what I'm going to say right now, I want you to hear me out and calm down if you get triggered as soon as I say it. Let me explain everything, and then if you still don't agree with me, please leave it in the comments below, because I don't think some of you are not going to like this. I don't know what to make of Kobbie Mainoo. I feel like I'm somebody who understands football to some degree. Like, I don't think I'm a football like idiot. I also know that there's still more for me to learn when it comes to football and tactics. I understand that Kobbie Mainoo is very talented. I understand what he's good at. I just don't understand what to make of him in this system. That's a better way for me to say it. I know what I would, if Kobbie Mainoo was a guy I was going to build a team around, I would put him in front of 2 midfielders who can basically watch his back, because I don't think that kid can sense danger. And then the best education Kobbie Mainoo can have is, as a young guy, is have somebody else who can turn, advance the ball, like someone who has his handling, because he's a pretty good dribbler on the ball and he's an okay passer. The problem is, though, we don't see enough of these good passes of his, because he ends up passing backwards. Actually, he passed backwards a handful of times in the first half against Leicester, and once or twice he even got booed by the entire crowd for passing backwards. He also, I've showed in previous videos, he also has a tendency to sometimes turn backwards when there's no need to. When the lane in front of him is open, yet just the way he is, how safe he's trying to be with the ball, he takes his first touch in order to turn backwards instead of taking his first touch to turn forward and run at their goal. Now, that's just, I think, raw, young mistakes, if you will. That's stuff that we could work out and change in his game. He's got a long way to go, like meaning he's still young. Like he can develop into being exactly what we all hope for him to be. But is that a 10 or is that an 8? That's what I mean by I don't really know what to make of Kobbie Mainoo. Are we going to develop him into a 10? Are we going to develop him into an 8? He's definitely not going to be a 6. And he scares me as an 8 because his defensive nuances are not there. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but basically his ability to sense and smell danger before it happens isn't there. I in the past I made a video and I showed you something he did in the Liverpool game, and he did it more than once, but this is the clip I showed. In this play I'm about to show right here, Kobbie misses his assignment and Liverpool get an easy chance on goal. This was Kobbie's assignment. He was running too slow and let someone just run past him, and the guy gets an open shot on goal. If this would have went in, every one of you would have been saying Kobbie cost us that game. But it didn't go in. He got lucky, so nobody talks about it. But this is his assignment, and he's late, and he's slow. He's got to think ahead. He's got to get there before. He's got to know, I'm not going to be able to keep up with these runners, so I've got to be there a couple seconds before. I got to give myself a head start. And right there, that's his assignment running past him, and that guy just happened to not score that day, or else all of us would be talking about how Kobbie lost us the game against Liverpool. Because he just kind of trotted his way back while the other guy's sprinting past him. Now, this same kind of sort of thing happened in the Leicester game that actually did cost us a goal. And I saw some people on X or Twitter when I said, I feel like Kobbie's partly to blame for this goal. Some people were coming at me like, how do you figure Kobbie's playing as a 10? Why is it his job to defend in the box? I don't care if you're playing as a striker, a 10, or whatever. If you're on the field, and your teammates are out of position, and you're the closest person to a guy who is the biggest danger, let's say, running into your box, then it's your job to track that runner. I don't care what position you're playing. Can you imagine that in basketball? Like if the center of the other team has the ball and you're a point guard, but you're the closest to that center that you don't even attempt to play defense because you're like, he's not my guy. What do you mean he's not your guy? If your teammate's out of position and you're the closest to the danger, he's your guy. Pick him up. That's your man. That's your assignment now. Pick him up. Like, bust a gut, get in front of him. You were already in front of him. Don't let him run past you. And that's what I mean. Like, he should have sensed that danger. The danger is right there. It's obvious that there's going to be a pass coming into the box. And here's a man who's running into the center of the box, and you're the closest to him. Guard him. Pick him up. Bust a gut. Run as fast as you can. Put a hand on him. Throw him off his game. Don't make it so simple. And he's done this. Guys, it's not just the Liverpool game. It's not just the Leicester game. Kobbie has a problem sensing danger. I've been saying it since the beginning of the season. And it's not good for somebody who's going to be a box-to-box midfielder. Even if he's not going to be a 6. If you're going to be a box-to-box midfielder, if you're going to be a 10, sometimes you're going to be called upon to do it, just like he was called upon to do it in the Leicester game. So it's actually not good, period. I don't care where you're playing. And that characteristic, look, Ruben Amorim agrees with me, guys. He said in the press conference, 3 games ago, that Kobbie looked better as a 10 because he was free. He was free of defensive assignments. He didn't have to defend so much. Even Ruben knows Kobbie's defending is lacking. And actually, it's not so much like how he goes into duels, which is a problem, but that's not my issue with it because again, he's young. He'll learn how to go into duels. He'll learn how to stand his ground harder and challenge tougher. My problem is just not being able to sense danger when it's obvious. That's my problem. You should be able to sense that danger. Like you're still playing academy football where the passes aren't that great, so it doesn't matter how close you are to the guy you should be defending. If you're marking that guy in the Premier League, you better be right up his you-know-what because the pass is probably going to be pretty good. So I don't know, man. Like, I know some of you are going to think I'm being harsh. This is what I see. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to have an agenda. It hurts when a player is not, doing his best. That's why I think Kobbie's a little too young to be starting. And I shouldn't be saying these things, right? And that's how some of you guys feel. I shouldn't be saying these things. He's one of our own. He's young. Why am I picking on the 19-year-old or whatever he is, the teenager? I get it, but that means he shouldn't be playing yet. He should be on the bench, getting a little bit of minutes here and there. Right? That's the only way then someone like me is not going to see these things again. There's no agenda here. There's just, this is what's happening, guys, and we need to fix it, or else we're not going to get any better. And the problem is it's happened in the past, and it's still happening. So there's a problem there, right? I don't know, man. Leave it in the comments. Sorry if you hate me. Just know that I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just speaking what I see, my truth. Okay, enough about Kobbie. I really don't want to make this video about Kobbie. This video is more about my concerns. And my biggest concern is the fact that we're being run by Scrooge McDuck, or as most of you call him, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, really, that guy has obviously proven that his first and foremost goal is to make the club profitable again. Obviously, that is the promises that he made to the Glazers, or else there's no way they would have let the guy who owns a minority stake control basically most of the decisions that are being done by the football club. Who the CEO is, who like the coach is, who everything. Basically, Sir Jim Ratcliffe controls everything that's being done by the football club. I don't care what most people say, which is the Glazers still own the majority of the thing. The Glazers are still on the board and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It's obvious that most decisions that are happening now are happening because of Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I personally wish that Ineos never bid for the club. I personally wish that Ineos never bailed out the Glazers, because that's exactly what they did. I think that even if the Glazers would not have sold to the Qataris, that in due time, maybe 3 years from now, that because the club is in such financial ruin, and there's no way that the Glazers were going to basically make us like play better football and get into the Champions League for 3 years in a row. So because the club is in such financial ruin, the Glazers would have probably had to drop their asking price and sell the whole thing off to some bidder, whether it's the Qataris or somebody else. But because Ineos came in, basically partnered up with the Glazers and bailed them out. See, here's the thing. We are in such financial ruin, and we were even worse financial ruin, and the Glazers were never going to get away with laying off hundreds of employees and raising ticket prices while the team is losing. The protests would have been like violent and chaotic. It would have been out of control. There's no way the Glazers would have had the guts to raise ticket prices. Can you imagine that? Or lay off hundreds of people. Ineos was the perfect partner for the Glazers to come in and fire hundreds of people and raise ticket prices, and the fans would just stay out of the way. And the bad news is, and yes, there is some good news, and I'm going to hold on to the good news until the end of my rant here. The bad news is that the billion whatever dollars that the Ineos paid to the Glazers to buy 20 whatever percent keeps the Glazers cash rich for a while Ineos works on making the club profitable again, so that the Glazers can eventually go back to getting their dividends. And guess what? Ineos is going to be collecting dividends too. There is no way that Ineos, a minority shareholder, just like the Glazers, isn't going to collect dividends while the Glazers do. That's just not how it works. It makes the Glazers look bad. So they're not going to make their partners look bad, because that's what they are. They're partners. So Ineos, mark my words, 2 or 3 years from now, when the Glazers start collecting dividends, Ineos will be collecting dividends too. And I believe they're going to be partners for a very, very long time. You've got a brand new, huge stadium coming in 7 years' time. Why would the Glazers sell? And don't think for any minute that Ineos actually cares if they buy out the whole club or not. Remember, Ineos is a 30% shareholder in the Mercedes-Benz Formula One team. They're never going to buy more stake than that. They're happy being a 33% stakeholder in that team. Just like they're going to be happy being a 33% stakeholder in our team. They're not there yet, and I believe that in a couple of years' time, they will buy more shares to get them up to 33% or whatever. So that will happen, and that will keep us quiet and make us believe that maybe one day they'll buy the whole thing. But it's never going to happen. This partnership will go on for a very long time, and most fans maybe won't care, because we'll have a brand new stadium, a lot of new players, and maybe, hopefully, we'll start playing better football, and we'll just move on with our lives. But I really just hope that fans understand this, because there's some YouTubers out there who keep feeding us bullshit. Andy Mitten himself said that look, I don't know if this is true, but I saw this somewhere online where Andy Mitten confessed that he asked Sir Jim Ratcliffe if there was some sort of full purchase plan, or when they're going to buy 100%. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe told him that as of now, there's really no plan to do so. I really don't think there's a plan to do so. I don't think there was ever a plan to do so. Why would there be? You basically get to reap the benefits of being a full owner without investing all the billions that it takes. You invest $1 billion or $1.3 billion, whatever it is they've put in so far, and you have full control of the club until the Glazers Say that you proved otherwise and you didn't make it profitable, but it's obvious that Ineos is going to find a way to make the club profitable, even if that means laying everybody off. It's going to be profitable. We make too much money to not be profitable if we cut down expenses until the point where the money we're making is more than our expenses. So we're obviously going to be profitable at some point in the next 2 years. I did say there's some good news and we are getting into that, but I just want to make sure that everybody here understands this, because I really think that there's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of talk about like Qataris weren't real or they didn't have proof of funds and blah, blah, blah. And I've already explained this before, but it's still happening. And I'm still getting told on Twitter that I don't know what I'm talking about and the Qataris never showed proof of funds. Guys, the Qataris showed proof of funds. It's just that the Glazers get to say it wasn't sufficient proof of funds, although it was a guarantee from the National Bank of Qatar signed by the president of the bank. But anybody can say that that's not sufficient. We wanted a guarantee from a different bank or whatever. And I'll tell you why they said it so we can get this out of the way. Now, imagine somebody bid to buy the company. And at the same time, you got Ineos who's like, don't sell. We'll buy a part of it. We'll make it profitable again. You can stay on as owners and we'll make more money and everything will be hunky-dory. You won't need to sell anymore. And the Glazers start thinking, yeah, we probably want to go with that plan, but we don't want to get sued by the shareholders for doing something like that, even though you probably wouldn't be sued by the shareholders. There's probably not much ground the shareholder can stand on. But to ensure that we are safe from lawsuits, we just say what they showed us wasn't sufficient proof of funds. We send them a letter and we say, we need proof of funds from a different bank. You have this many days to do that. And then if they don't, they're like, I don't understand. Why isn't National Bank of Qatar good enough? Or that letter of guarantee signed by the president not good enough? Oh, too bad, too late. We're going with this deal. And that's it. You tell the SEC they didn't show sufficient proof of funds. That's why we didn't go there. So that someone like me who's a shareholder doesn't get to see if the Qataris bought the club, I would have got $25 for every share I own, because they bought the whole thing. But because they went with Ineos, I only get to sell 25% of the shares I own, because that's what Ineos bought, 25%. And I got $25 for those shares, which I bought for about $13 a couple of years before that. So as a shareholder, I don't get to make the maximum amount of money I could have made if Qatar bought the club. Do you see what I'm saying there? And that's why they have to make it so there's like no way that someone like me, or people even more than me who have more shares than me, can sue them for going with a deal that's worse for the shareholders by saying that other bid wasn't even qualified. It was a disqualified bid. They didn't qualify to even have a chance to get the club. You see what I'm saying? So they do that by sufficient proof of funds, which is basically like an arbitrary thing. What I mean by arbitrary is like there's no way to prove that the Qatari bank letter is sufficient proof of funds, because you get to dictate what that means to you as the person auctioning off a club, opening a bidding. Okay? That's it. That's all. I don't want to hear talk about that anymore. And then also, now partnering with Ineos is a genius idea, because, like I said, they get to raise ticket prices, they get to fire hundreds of people, they get to do all these things that most supporters would protest about, get violent about, get crazy about. But you're not going to get crazy. They're not going to protest, because there's no nice way to say this. So I'm going to be very vulgar and very blunt. But these supporters would rather get by another white Brit in a suit than get hugged by a thobe-wearing Arab. That's what it looks like to me. That's exactly what it feels like. And I just don't understand it. And I hate it. That's the way it seems. That's the that's the picture it paints. That's not me trying to be like, I don't know, controversial. Isn't that exactly what it looks like to anybody thinking like, why would I rather have so many hundreds of people laid off and this and that? Now then, like I said, some people are going to say the Qataris never existed or they didn't show proof of funds. I'm done with that. Let's move on, because the plan has worked so far. Ineos is getting away with whatever the heck they want to do. I don't know how long we're going to give them a pass to keep doing things like this, where people are suffering, losing jobs and stuff like that, and fans are getting gouged for ticket prices when we're not even playing that great. Like, you don't raise the prices now. Why don't you win something like a major trophy that you haven't done in the God knows how long now, since Alex Ferguson left, and then raise the ticket prices, or at least challenge. Don't do it when we have had 3, 4, 5 horrible seasons in a row, and you're like, you know what? We're gonna raise our ticket prices. God, that makes me so mad, and I'm not even a game going fan. I would be if I lived in the area, but I'm not even a game. You know how mad I would be if any. It's not cool. It's not cool. That's just not the way to treat fans. You've already disappointed the fans for so long with the way you and I know it's not Ineos, but still that team has already disappointed the fans for so long with the way they've been running the team and the kind of product they've been putting on the field. And now you want to raise prices for that product? That product is shit. Okay, enough about that. So what's the good news? Let me get to the good news. I'm done venting. I'm getting really angry as I do it. So what is the good news? Well, the good news is that the only other way to get profitable other than cutting expenses is at some point your team has to play better. And one of the most profitable ways for a football team to earn money is to be in the Champions League consistently, because the Champions League is going to add 20+% more revenue on a yearly basis based on the money you earn by finishing in a top place in the Champions League, and also based on the sponsorship deals you have. We already know this. We've heard about this. All of us are educated on this, that deals with Adidas and stuff like that pay more when we're in the Champions League. So obviously, it would behoove Ineos to start investing in players that can get us back to the Champions League on a consistent basis, which means that this summer should be a big summer. I really believe that. Even though I may not agree with most of the things that Ineos does, I really believe that this summer is going to be a big, huge summer. I'm thinking 200 million plus. I think 200 million is on the low side. I'm thinking 250 million minimum and plus. But the only problem is, and what these Scrooge McDuck run people have shown us already, is that they refuse to buy without making a sale. Don't get me wrong. I think in the summertime it's a little different. They can buy 1 or 2 players without making a sale. But after 1 or 2, they're going to start to have to make sales to keep buying more. The most profitable people or the best people for them to sell are Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, because of how high their wages are, not because of how much they're going to sell for. You just need to move them on to get their wages off. But then they got to start thinking about, okay, how do we get another 100 million? And that's going to be, I fear, Garnacho and Mainoo. Because in the long run, if they're building a team for Ruben Amorim, and I think they owe him that because of the way they got him in, they forced them to basically choose to come in mid-season with no time to train. And then they didn't get him anything but Dorgu in January. I'm not saying Dorgu's bad. Dorgu's actually a very good fit for what he wants to do. But they didn't get him. I thought they would get him one more piece. I really did. I really, really thought in January they would get him one more piece, a 10, an inside 10, someone who actually knows how to play that role. And they didn't do it. And maybe it was the Mathis Tell thing falling through that stopped them from actually doing it. But because they let him down in that way, I really think they owe him a big summer. And I mean huge. I'm talking like 6 players big. I'm not talking 5 is not enough. I think 6 players minimum big. But my other concern and fear is that all 6 become these under 23-year-old players. I don't mind young players. They're obviously worth more and they're more valuable to a team because if they don't work out in 2 seasons, you can sell them and moving on. And most of these younger players are not on big high wages because it's not their last big contract. They're not even in their prime yet. But that's the problem. I hope that out of however many, I think 6 or more, but let's say they only bring in 5, that minimum 2 of those players are over 23 and in their prime. I'm not talking about 30-year-olds like Harry Kane. I'm talking about guys in their prime, somewhere in the 24 to 27 or 28-year-old range that are in their prime, ready to come in, aren't going to need too much time to adapt to the Premier League because, like I said, they're ready to go. They're in their prime. They're not raw. I hope that's what happens, but I have a feeling that might not happen. That everybody they buy might be 23 or younger because, like I said, it might be financially motivated on every transfer. Look, it's okay to be financially motivated on majority of your transfers, but this team is like dying for leadership. It's dying for some experience and leadership to lead these young players out of the slumps they're in and into like the next phase of our growth. guys, this was a passionate talk for me. I just kind of went on and on and on. I hope you're still with me here. I hope I didn't lose you. And if I haven't lost you yet and you're still with me, drop a like, subscribe if you're new. And by the way, if you're new, just know that this is not the normal kind of video. I just happen to be really concerned and I'm heated right now. I'm not happy. I didn't even, honestly, I made this, before I even turned the camera on, I was going to do this yesterday. And before I turned the camera on, even yesterday, I was like, I'm way too not happy about my team right now to make a video. But I think this is like therapy for me. I'm just sharing with you guys. Leave it in the comments. Tell me how you feel. Let's talk. You know me, I reply to most of the comments. And if you're new to the channel, this is new to you, go back and check out some of the older videos like the ones I pointed out about tactics. And I think you'll enjoy those. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining me again. And I will be back soon. Oh, another thing. I've been talking to Big Up. I think you guys know that website. And if you don't, check it out. It's a good website, bigup.com. Bigup.com actually makes it so I can do my tactics talks with actual gameplay footage, and they're gonna hook me up with that as long as I go live and I show that I have somewhat of an audience. So leave it in the comments on Fridays. Let me know what time zone you're in when you give me that. But I'd like to know what time I can go live on, say, something like bigup.com. That's going to get me some sort of audience. Because the first time I go live is not going to be this Friday. This Friday is Valentine's Day. I'm going to go live next Friday, the 21st. I believe that would be the 21st. I want to go live then on bigup.com, and I want to see how many of you guys will join me over there. So leave it in the comments. Tell me what time would work for you guys. I'm thinking probably 9 a.m. my time here in California, which is Pacific Standard Time. Look that up. See what it is in your time and tell me if that works for you. If not, that's fine. Let me know. I will adjust my time depending on you guys, because I'm not going to go live for myself. I'm going live for you guys to join me. You can talk to me there. We can chat, and also we'll do some tactics talks, and we'll look at the last game at that point. And then maybe we'll make that a regular thing every Friday if you guys like it. And we can talk about the tactics live instead of you watching an edited video. Let me know in the comments. Thanks again for being with me. Drop a like, subscribe. Thank you so much for all the support. Again, next video will not be a rant video. I'll try to be in a better mood. Thank you very much. See you.